Conan, Kogoro, Ran, Hibara, and the detective boys are invited to meet Kogoro's new client in a hotel next to Miracle Land, a newly opened theme park in Yokohama. A man in a suit greets them in front of the hotel and leads them to a meeting room on the top floor, telling them to have a seat while he gets something for them. When he comes back, he hands everyone an ID watch that allows them a day's free access to all attractions in Miracle Land as well as free food and drinks. Ran and the children decide to go and have fun in the park while Kogoro is busy. Ran wants Conan to come with them, but their host tells them that Conan also has to stay behind. The children leave and their host pulls back curtains in the room and switches a TV screen on, showing their client, a man who's sitting in front of several screens. He wears a bathrobe and his face is half hidden in the darkness. The client explains that he wants Kogoro and Conan to help him solve a mystery. To make sure they comply, he further explains that the ID watches he gave to everyone are filled with explosives, can't be taken off and will explode if someone finds the wrong answer to the mystery. The watches also have GPS systems that allow the client to track everyone's exact locations. If they are tampered with, Ran or the children leave the park or Conan or Kogoro go to the police, the client will know and will let the watches explode. The watches will be switched on once Ran and the children enter the park. Conan tries to contact Hibara with their detective badges to warn her not to get into the park, but they have already passed the entrance. Instead, Conan urges Hibara not to let anyone leave the park or go on the Super Snake roller coaster because this leaves the boundaries of the park for a while. The client explains that he already hired 4 detectives to work on the case. 2 have given up, 1 is working, and the last one has failed. He shows them a man locked in a room, a detective named Ryu who's familiar to Kogoro and also wears an ID watch. The client tells Ryu his deductions were wrong and then activates the explosives in the watch. Ryu dies before Conan's and Kogoro's eyes. The client's assistant hands Conan and Kogoro a phone that can only receive calls. The first and only clue they get from the client is Taka 3-8. Conan deduces that they are supposed to go to Part 3 of Takashima and find a house in the 8th block, which turns out to be an abandoned hotel. In a locker in the hotel basement, they find a licensed gun and woolen ski masks, thinking this might be equipment used in a robbery. The moment they leave the hotel again, police officers try to arrest Conan and Kogoro, thinking they are accomplices of Kaito Kid, who has appeared near the hotel recently. One of the officers tells Kogoro that they are investigating 2 cases that happened on April 4th. A truck delivering money to a bank was robbed and this abandoned hotel was used as the base of the robbers. On the same day, Kid broke into a nearby office building and stole a few jewels. Since none of the police officers recognize Kogoro, they take him and Conan to the nearest police station to interrogate him. In the middle of the painful debate, the client suddenly calls and Conan hurries to the bathroom to answer it. The client calls Conan Shinichi, so Conan uses his voice-changing bow tie to explain that they didn't go to the police voluntarily and tells the client about their findings. The client gives him a new hint: look for the cafe terrace at night. Conan hurries out of the police station and tries to figure out where to go. Heiji Hattori suddenly turns up and explains that he is also working on the same case and that the client has sent Kazuha to Miracle Land with an ID on. Kogoro catches up with Conan and Heiji, and Inspector Megure wants to know what's going on. Kogoro starts to explain but realizes the client is watching them. The client sets off a bomb as a warning. Kogoro shoves Megure aside and leaves with Heiji and Conan. Shiratori asks Megure why he is okay with this behavior from Kogoro. Megure shows him a note from Kogoro that says Ran and the children are in danger, don't let anyone leave Miracle Land. Kogoro decides to go investigate on his own. Heiji says he also got the cafe terrace at night as hint, but the client also told him to look for You Cry. They deduce that the cafe terrace at night refers to a famous painting by Vincent van Gogh on which a horse-drawn carriage appears in front of a cafe terrace lit by lamps in the evening, and that this is a clue to Carriageway, where the transporter was robbed on April 4th. U is short for Yokohama Ocean University, so that is where Heiji and Conan go next. Cry has to refer to a club at the university, Heiji thinks, But they can't find the right one when they're interrupted by Suguru Hakuba, a famous teenage detective from England who spends most of his time trying to catch Kaido Kid. Suguru has also got an ID watch and decides to team up with Conan and Heiji, telling them he thinks Cry refers to the Crime Research Club of Yokohama University, so it is there they continue their investigation. In the club rooms, some members, thinking Heiji and Suguru are interested in the club because they want to attend Yokohama University, show them around. Conan notices that among the pictures of former club presidents, the third president seems to be missing and asks for the reason. The members took the picture of the third president, Suihiko Ito, down because he was involved in the murder of one of his classmates, Masaharu Nishio. The three detectives have lunch and Heiji calls Inspector Otaki in Osaka for more information on Ito. Suguru says he has learned from his father that Ito is wanted by the police in connection with the truck robbery on April 4th. At the same time, Kogoro calls Eri and asks her if she has further information about that same case. Conan, Heiji, and Suguru visit Nishio's office, where he was killed. They learn that Reiko Shimizu, who was employed at the same office and also a member of the Crime Research Club, committed suicide after the police questioned her about Nishio's murder. The client calls and confirms that Nishio's murder is the case he wants them to solve. Immediately after the phone call, two men on motorcycles attack Heiji, Suguru, and Conan. They also seem to be after Kaido Kid. The three detectives decide to split up. Conan gets away on his skateboard but is followed by one of the cyclists to a bridge. He slips and falls into the river below, hitting his leg on the railing during the fall and breaking his ankle. A petty thief steals a wallet from a woman in Miracle Land. The detective boys and the police pursue him and he takes Ayumi hostage and starts to go to the exit. Suddenly Sonoko appears in front of him on the lookout for Ran. She has no idea what the man has done but shoves him out of the way for being rude, allowing Sato to arrest him. Conan wakes up in Professor Agasa's car with Heiji. Heiji tells Conan that Suguru called Agasa to pick Conan up, but when Agasa arrived, Suguru was gone and that they're now on the way back to the hotel as the time limit is almost up. Otaki has also been in touch and Heiji updates Conan about the events following the robbery on April 4th. There were traces of mascara on the scope of the sniper rifle used to kill Nishio. It was found to be of the same brand Reiko wore on a regular basis, but she never said anything during the police questioning. On May 15, two fishermen saw Reiko apparently jumping off a cliff, but her body was never found. 8 days later, Ito, who was grievously injured, escaped from hospital. Furthermore, Kaido Kid stole jewels from an art collection on April 4th and his escape route crossed the route the robbers took after they attacked the delivery truck. Kid saw the faces of the robbers and they started shooting at him, but missed. Since then, Kid's life has been in danger whenever he has tried to steal something. Professor Agasa says Kogoro has already made it back to the hotel and wants to present his deductions to their client, so Conan and Heiji hurry up there to make sure Kogoro doesn't screw everything up. Kaido Kid has gone back to the art collection to tell the owner that he has had enough of being in mortal danger whenever he wants to commit a heist. He also says he knows why the owner is still after him even after Kaido returned the jewel to him. Kaido saw him among the robbers, as well as his associate who is currently also in the room, hiding behind a curtain. He calls the police to come and arrest the owner of the collection, releasing tranquilizing gas to make sure he can't escape. His associate, however, does. Kogoro was just about to give his report to the client when Heiji and Conan arrive. Conan tries to hit Kogoro with his tranquilizer watch but misses and accidentally knocks the client's assistant unconscious instead. As a result, Heiji is forced to knock Kogoro out with a pole. Conan using a remote finds a hidden door in the wall and suspects this leads to the client's hideout, so they decide to confront him. The client is sitting in a room with a giant computer and several screens, on a motorized wheelchair after a car accident left him blind and partially paralyzed. He asks Conan and Heiji to present their deductions. Nishio, Reiko, and the client planned and committed the truck robbery together. Things went wrong when Nishio shot and killed a guard. Kaido Kid saw Nishio's face when the three robbers tried to escape and tried to kill him as a result. Reiko and the client decided to kill Nishio in order to keep him quiet. The client thought he wounded Nishio fatally, but as Heiji explains, Nishio was already dead when he was shot by the client. The actual murderer was Reiko Shimizu. The client interjects stating he saw Nishio falling from his chair after he fired, however Heiji reveals that this was because he had hit one of the wheels on the chair he was sitting on. The client tried to escape after his murder, however someone had manipulated his car, causing an accident that nearly killed him and left him with his current injuries. The client is Suihiko Ito. Reiko reveals herself and says that Conan's and Heiji's deductions were correct. She then tries to kill everyone to hide her involvement in the murder. Since Conan can't support his weight with his injured ankle, Heiji throws a spear at the room's ceiling, helps Conan jump from his shoulders, and Conan grabs the spear, swings around and knocks Reiko out with the football on his belt. The client also falls unconscious. Conan frantically tries to deactivate the IDs when he sees a countdown on the computer screen, but he needs a passcode to shut the IDs down or reset the countdown. What's worse, Reiko damaged part of the computer when she tried to shoot Heiji, Ito, and Conan. Conan tries to reset the system and connects it with the client's private laptop. The countdown doesn't stop ticking down, and the program asks for a password to deactivate the countdown. When Conan asks for a hint, the program tells him the password is "the person I love the most." Since Ito and Reiko used to date, they try Reiko's name first, but it is incorrect. The computer program warns that it will shut down if they enter a second incorrect password. Conan frantically tries to recall anything helpful Ito said and comes to the conclusion that Ito is such a narcissist that the password could be his own name. Fortunately, at the very last second, this password turns out to be correct and the timer is extended. The GPS restriction can't be turned off on the laptop, but the ID watches can now be removed without being dangerous. Conan calls Agasa to inform him that everything is fine, and Agasa congratulates him. Inspector Chiba collects the IDs from almost everyone, and suddenly, there is an announcement: the Super Snake, which was closed for maintenance for most of the day, will now open for one final ride in the evening. Everyone excitedly rushes over to ride the roller coaster, while on the ride Heiji, in a panic, realizes Genta still has his ID on. Sonoko lost her ID earlier that day, but found it in her handbag. Chiba hadn't known this, so he thought her ID was one of the booby-trapped ones. Hibara helps Genta to get the ID off, but the roller coaster takes a sharp turn and the watch lands in Heiji's hands. While he panics, the roller coaster enters a loop and the ID lands on the empty seat behind Conan. Conan attempts to get out of his safety restraint to grab it but can't open the belt. While he pulls at it with his super kick shoes, Kaido Kid flies in on his hang glider, grabs the ID and lets it go in a safe distance from the roller coaster, where it explodes. The children and Ran are delighted at the sudden firework. Heiji wants to know if Conan had any idea where Kid was, and Conan says yes. He had long figured out that Kid was disguised as Suguru using Sonoko's lost ID and stayed behind after he handed the ID in to make sure everything ended without trouble. Also, Ito knew Conan was Shinichi because the armchairs used in the meeting room in the morning collected everyone's fingerprints. Kogoro's friend Ryu is actually alive and was paid a handsome sum of money if he would fake his death in front of the cameras. Kogoro thinks this was stupid of Ryu, when, just as he finishes that sentence, his phone rings, asking him if he wants to act in a commercial for sleeping pills. He is greatly offended until he learns how much money he could earn from it, at which point he immediately accepts. Thank you for watching until the end of the video. Remember to like, share and subscribe to support our channel, and don't forget to press the notification bell button to not miss upcoming interesting videos. See you later.